Honestly, it's about that time off the waiver wire that we shouldn't just be thinking about this next week. We'll have some guys that maybe are going to be productive for you in week 10, but a lot of these players, I actually like their upside for the fantasy football playoffs. So we're going to be looking at some must-add guys now so we can be a week early compared to your league mates trying to rush out and grab these names. But before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football, and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to go down there and drop them in that comment section. And down there in the comment section, you will find a link to Underdog Fantasy where you can check out a ton of cool player props every week. And only with promo code FLOCK, because I worked my butt off to get y'all this, are you going to have the Alvin Kamara free bet on Underdog if you signed up for Underdog this weekend or this morning. And also when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. If you had the Derrick Henry free bet with promo code FLOCK on Sunday night, I'm sorry you're not going to have the Alvin Kamara one. They're going to run this for everybody who did not have that Derrick Henry bet because I wanted to make sure we could get everyone a free bet this week. I worked my butt off to get you this. Please take advantage of it. But I think that should be it. Let's go ahead. Let's dive into these RBs. The number one guy everybody's going to be looking at, Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, technically, I only want to talk about players that are available in 50% more of leagues. Jeff Wilson Jr. is only available in 48%, but it's right there, 50-50 on if he's going to be available. Obviously, he's going to be more available in those shallower formats, maybe a 10-team league with a shallow bench. But coming out week 1, I thought Raheem Mostert was actually going to be someone that you wanted to go through and jam in against the Chicago Bears. That the Bears had a pretty bad defense. The Miami Dolphins would be able to put up a lot of points here. And I thought Jeff Wilson Jr. was not going to have that large of a role his first week in Miami. Now, of course, head coach in Miami, offensive coordinator from his time in San Francisco. So he is going to be very familiar with the system. And week 1, he comes in and right away sees more snaps than most. Of course, it is very close to being a 50-50 split. Wilson gets 28. Mostert gets 26. They pretty much split the backfield 50-50. But if that's in the context of this being Jeff Wilson Jr.'s first week in here, he's been with the team for like 4 days. I think we're going to assume that he's actually probably the guy that expands his role as the season goes on. And I'm a little surprised as well to see the fact that he is getting involved as a pass catcher. The man has 3 receptions, 21 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. Leads the team in rushing yards as well with 51. So he comes away with 13 fantasy points his first week in Miami. I think he is a very exciting pickup. I'm sorry to go against our rule of only players that are rostered in more than 50% of leagues. I just didn't want anybody asking us in the comment section, wait, you don't like picking up most? Yes, of course, we're going to be picking him up. Now, our next guy, Jordan Wilkins, is someone we may have to look at. I don't want to go through and tell you Jordan Wilkins is a must-add in every format because there are some serious concerns. A, what happens if Jonathan Taylor comes back this week? Please, Jonathan Taylor, come back this week. B, what happens if this Deion Jackson knee injury isn't that serious? C, what happens if Zach Moss is active and they turn this into a 3-man running back by committee and one of the worst offenses in the NFL? That's all possible, okay? So I don't want to tell you that Jordan Wilkins is some must-start guy, but if we have an injured Jonathan Taylor and injured Deion Jackson, if this team doesn't love Zach Moss and obviously Nyheim Hines shipped over to Buffalo, Jordan Wilkins is that next guy up. And I mean, hell, if you're looking at the snaps this week, you had Deion Jackson with 39. Deion Jackson was looking like an every down player here for the Indianapolis Colts. He goes down. Jordan Wilkins plays considerably ahead of Phillip Lindsay. Jordan Wilkins, 19 snaps, 13 routes run. He actually had, 5 targets. That's what you really like to see because obviously the number one role that's available right now in Indianapolis is going to be the passing down role at the running back position. With Jonathan Taylor and Deion Jackson both injured, with Nyheim Hines over in Buffalo, they need someone to catch the ball. We know it's not going to be Zach Moss. So it looks like that may be Jordan Wilkins for the time being. So please make sure instead of adding him right this second, we wait until Tuesday where we have another update with both Jonathan Taylor and Deion Jackson, hopefully. And if they look like they're both going to continue to miss time, you got to go pick them up. Now our next guy, a little bit under the radar here, Isaiah Spiller. With Isaiah Spiller, I did not like him back in Dynasty rookie draft season because we looked historically. And what have we said? I mean, we dove in and wrote a 100-page Dynasty rookie draft guide with historical analysis of what translates to success in fantasy football from college. The running back position, you can be slow, but if you're slow, you got to be big. You can be small, but if you're small, you got to be fast. You can't be slow and small. That's why I never told you to pick up Kyren Williams. That's why I told you, do not pick up Kyren Williams. With Isaiah Spiller, he's not super slow. He's not super small. He's not exactly like Kyren, but I think he is capped as an overall athlete. I'm not telling you Isaiah Spiller can come out here and be a top 3 running back in fantasy. He was a little bit overhyped in the offseason. However, now he is the clear running back 2 behind Austin Eckler. He's playing in an offense that clearly needs playmakers. And on top of this, if Austin Eckler were to go down, he is the number 1 passing down running back on this team. Because very similar to Kyren Williams, Isaiah Spiller is a damn good pass catcher. I'd make the argument better than Kyren Williams. And with Isaiah Spiller, he is going to have a week-to-week role because we know Eckler is never going to turn into Derrick Henry, where he's just getting every single touch out of his backfield. Spiller had 7 carries this past week. I mean, he had 29 rushing yards. That's half of what you had from Austin Eckler. He was a great passing down running back at Texas A&M. So I think if Austin Eckler were to go down in a full PPR format, Spiller would most likely be a high-end RB2, just given the offense he's playing in and the usage he can have as a pass catcher. I can't sit here and lie to you, though, and tell you he's going to be some top 3 running back. Like, he doesn't have, like, A.J. Dillon level upside. Comparing something that just happened to a situation in Los Angeles that's the what-if game. Now, going over to our next guy, Greg Dulcich. I mean, another rookie here. We're to go through and add some guys that we think can get better as the season goes on. Coming off the bye, it's nice to have a tight end that's already through his bye week, so we don't have to worry about him missing another week going forward. The man, the week before the bye, led the Denver Broncos in receiving with 5 targets, 4 receptions, 87 receiving yards. Looked damn good while doing so. He's a great pass catcher at UCLA. For a rookie tight end to get this involved this early, it is very exciting, and I would be surprised if they scale back his usage in this offense. I think they're only going to continue to use him. Now, going over to Carolina, an offense that's going to be very bad. Before we get to the fantasy football playoff options, let's look at Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall, if you're playing in a deeper format, let's go ahead and let's get him. He was a phenomenal prospect coming out of LSU in last year's NFL draft, where if you compared his production to Justin Jefferson as well as Jamar Chase before the shoulder injury he suffered back in 2020 in that historic LSU offense, Terrace Marshall was like an every down player alongside some of the best wide receivers in college football. I mean, can you imagine a wide receiver room with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on it in college? Terrace Marshall got production in that wide receiver room. Over the past 2 weeks, Terrace Marshall has been fine. 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, the man had 9 targets, 4 receptions, 87 receiving yards. I said, don't get excited. This Carolina Panthers offense is going to be significantly worse going forward. Pump the brakes. Well, this past week, they were significantly worse. You still had Terrace Marshall producing. The man still had 6 targets, 3 receptions, 53 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. He's running just as many routes as DJ Moore. They're wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, clearly in this offense. So I think you can add him if you're playing in a deeper league. But now let's go over to some exciting options for the fantasy football playoffs. Treylon Burks, I mean, we just saw the ugliest passing offense imaginable here with Malik Willis and the Tennessee Titans. I mean, we need Ryan Tannehill back in. We need Tannehill back in. I think that he will be playing next week. Sounded like he was a true game time decision this week. So if that's going to be the case, I'm assuming that he's going to go in week 10. If you look at Treylon Burks, this was a wide receiver that we really didn't get to see play too much in the preseason, in training camp, at the beginning of the year. It's been very frustrating. He's been hurt the entire time. He's on the IR. He's eligible to return now. This is a wide receiver that at Arkansas was a pretty damn good prospect. I mean, a big-bodied receiver, 6'2", 224 pounds, selected with the 18th pick in this past year's NFL draft. He was dominant, accounted for about 45% of the team's receiving yard production in Arkansas. Against top competition, declares early, checks almost every single box that you're looking to see. So I think Treylon Burks, if we end up getting him back this week or next week, and we get Ryan Tannehill back in Tennessee as well, he's the player with upside. Obviously a low floor, but we're looking for upside. Now our next guy with upside, time to pick up Jameson Williams. We said this last week as well. No reason to draft Jameson Williams, no reason to hold him on your roster at the beginning portion of the season. But now this is when you want the man. When you're looking at him getting this much closer to returning, it's a Detroit Lions offense that needs receivers. You have DJ Chark on the IR. You have Josh Reynolds missing as well. You have Jameson Williams playing a completely different role than Amon-Ra St. Brown, where St. Brown's that wide receiver that's going to be operating close to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be moving the chains, where Jameson Williams is going to be that deep threat in this offense. It's going to be taking the top off. The Detroit Lions really need him in here since they no longer have DJ Chark. I think he comes back relatively soon. If you look at a 9-month timetable from the time he tore his Achilles, you'd think the man would be back by now. I think he will be coming back. Hopefully not this week, but next week. Now going over to our next guy, someone who we know when he is going to be back, Deshaun Watson, suspended 11 games. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't listen to us and pick him up 2 weeks ago, if you didn't listen to us and pick him up last week, pick him up this week. It is your last chance. It's week 10. He's suspended 11 games. If you go back and historically look since 2017, the only other quarterback you can find in fantasy football during this stretch to have a floor and ceiling combo as high as Deshaun Watson from a fantasy points per game perspective, the only guy is Patrick Mahomes. That is legitimately it. He's coming into a situation where he has an elite level offensive line, where Amari Cooper's been pretty damn good. Hopefully David Bell breaks out in the second half of the year. David Njoku hopefully will be healthy sometime soon as well. Deshaun Watson's going to come in and I think he's going to win some fantasy leagues. Now going over to another rookie, let's go to Cade Otton. I mean, a tight end that I wish I would have taken in some best ball formats. I mean, he's looked relatively good. If you're looking at this past week, highest game so far with fantasy points scored. Obviously, the majority of this coming at the very end when he is the key player in this drive for Tom Brady to win the game. 6 targets, 5 receptions, 68 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. The man's getting pretty much every single snap at the tight end position. We have 71 snaps for Cade Otton. You have 17 for Ko Keith. You have 5 for Kyle Rudolph. This is an offense that has a ton of passing volume, and we've talked about this before, but even if Tom Brady does not look as good as he's historically been, it's not an Aaron Rodgers situation. You still have passing volume in Tampa. You're still able to go through and start these guys. Tom Brady coming into the week was second in the NFL in passing yards. Still very excited. Now our last guy, only for super deep leagues. We will be brief. Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs getting carted off, coming back with the walking boot. Then you have Christian Watson going down with another concussion after clearing concussion protocol this past week. Aaron Jones in a boot as well. The Green Bay Packers are desperate for pass catchers. They truly are. Obviously, Allen Lazard's already going to be rostered in your league. Sammy Watkins shouldn't be, though. Now, I think that's all we got for you. Of course, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football, and leave any questions you have down there in the comment section. And in that comment section, you'll find a link to Underdog Fantasy where you can check out a ton of cool player props. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And also, if you sign up to Underdog this weekend or this morning, you are going to get the Alvin Kamara free bet on Underdog for tonight. Only for people who use promo code FLOCK. If you got the Derrick Henry one on Sunday night, you're not going to get this one. I'm sorry, only one free bet for everybody with promo code FLOCK this week. But you can find that link in the comment section in the description of the video. Deposit $10, promo code FLOCK. Immediately have $20 in your account. Go bet the $20 on Alvin Kamara to have at least a rushing yard. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you in the live stream tonight.